So pleased to have at this table Laura Manfrey, who is with Sofia Sees Hope.org. Now let's talk about this. Your daughter, at 2 years old, was falling, tripping. You knew something was wrong. Her name is Sofia. What did you find out?
We knew something was wrong with her vision, and we went to a series of doctors for the next couple of years, and from one symptom to another, finally got a clinical diagnosis of something called Leber's congenital amaurosis.
Did you have any idea what this was?
No, no idea. We thought maybe she's short-sighted or far-sighted, and instead it turns out that she actually has a very rare inherited retinal disease that leads over time to complete blindness. Most kids born with Leber's congenital amaurosis actually are born completely blind. She is one of the children who is not. And at the time we were told the best we could hope for was that she'd retain some perception of light through the end of high school, maybe into her 20s.
So she's slowly going blind?
Correct.
Was this in your family at all?
No.
Not that you know of at all?
No, not that we know of.
So how did you start moving ahead, going, what are we going to do? This is a call to action. What's the next step?
Sure. Well, we saw a lot of doctors. We were up in Boston, we were down to Philly, we were in New Haven here, meeting different doctors and trying to figure out what to do. The best resource for us was one of the doctors up at Children's in Boston directed us to the Foundation for Retinal Research, and they host a biannual family conference for families with LCA, and it's from there that we met other families. We realized we're not so alone as we thought we were.
How rare is it?
It's right now they're saying it's somewhere between 1 in 50,000 and 1 in 80,000. It's rare for an inherited retinal disease.
So you start somewhere along, and how old is Sofia now?
Sophia's 12 right now.
Sophia's 12. And how does a 12-year-old deal with this slowly? She's never seen clearly anyway that you know of.
Not that we know of. That's part of the problem. And it's hard to ask her what she can and can't see because, of course, she doesn't know what she can't see. So, and I'll give an example. She'll color with crayons, and she'll be like, oh, I really like this pink, and she's using the green crayon. So, I try to be straight up with her most of the time and say, no, that's a green crayon. She's like, oh, okay, well, which one's the green one? And we'll grab a green crayon. So that's been going on since she was
little. How is
little.
Sofia dealing with this as a 12-year-old?
Gosh, she's very courageous. She's super smart. She focuses on academics. She dances. She does rowing. She's keeping busy. She really is trying to be a normal kid.
And this is your daughter, who's
That's
the brunette.
my daughter.
And she's standing next to Paige, who is another girl who has the same situation. It's called LCA, I guess for short.
Yes.
This was taken at a dinner you guys just did. This is your second annual dinner in the dark.
It is.
And I want to talk about that. You gave out a menu that is all in Braille.
Yes. That is the menu.
People are blindfolded?
People are blindfolded.
So that assimilates blindness. You can't see,
right.
And you're trying to read a menu. Boy, does that bring it home.
It does. It's a fantastic way to connect people with our mission, and that's what we want people to understand. It's very hard, I think, to really put yourself in the shoes of people with any disease. So for just a little tiny bit, we give them a glimpse of what it's like to experience a dinner. We also try to keep it fun, so we don't tell them what they're eating unless they can read Braille. And the food is fantastic, and we do it with wine pairings. And
we should say that Sofia Sees Hope.org is raising a lot of money for research. How far have you gotten?
Sure. So we incorporated back in January of 2014. So we've been doing this for almost 2 years now. Last year we did the Dinner in the Dark and had some other smaller fundraisers and have some very generous individual and corporate contributors. So we were able to raise funds. So we were able to raise enough money to fund 2 separate projects in 2 separate labs for gene therapy research. One gene is NPHP5, the other is CEP290. It costs only about $75,000 to $100,000 to keep these labs working for a year. So that's, even though we're a small nonprofit, that's a very attainable amount for us to get a research project either started or to help it continue with funding so that it can can move forward.
Is any of that going on in Connecticut, or is it outside of the state?
Good question. Right now, the research that I know about is going on outside of Connecticut. One of the sponsors of our Dinner in Dark was Spark Therapeutics, and they're based in Philly with some offices in Boston as well. And they're doing some really exciting stuff actually with gene therapy, and have been moving a group of kids actually through stage 3 clinical trials right now, and have seen some very successful results with improvements in vision, in their functional vision.
Is your daughter in that trial?
She's not. No, it's not her gene.
So she's now 12. She could be totally blind by the time she's 18, 19, 20.
Hopefully later, but yes.
You're hoping to grab a hold of the types of genes that they have, do research, and to give these young people sight.
We are. It used to be that if you were blind or going blind, that was just a sentence for life. There was nothing you could do about it. Even when we received her clinical diagnosis, when she was about 3 years old, they said there's nothing you could do. And a couple of the doctors said keep in touch and keep your ear to the ground and see what might happen. About 5 years ago, all of that changed. We went to the conference, we met with the doctors again, and they're really moving forward with some very different therapies, and that shows signs of success and the possibility of reversing this.
How is it, as parents, you're devastated that your child is going to lose her sight? How is it that you were able to mobilize and put up this nonprofit, Sofia Sees Hope, and that's SOFIA, SofiaSeesHope.org? How were you able to do that?
Geez, how could I not? We have to do something. It's very isolating and very, well, you said devastating. It's shocking. You don't want it, and there is a certain sense of hopelessness, especially when we first received the diagnosis and didn't think there was anything we could do. So when we realized that there are things that we can do, we can help fund some of this early stage and these small research projects. How could I not do it? And we've been so lucky to get so much support from the community with Dinner in the Dark and businesses and individuals. We've really, I don't think I could stop if I wanted to.
What do you need help with? What does your nonprofit need help with? So how can we help you?
Yeah, raising funds is key. We would like to be able to fund more of these research projects moving forward, not just 2 of them. We'd like to keep those 2 in lab, and we'd like to add more research projects for more genes. There's actually 20 genes that cause that are attributed to LCA. The other thing that we want to do is create some scholarships and medical assistance programs for other families. There's a lot of cost involved if you have to go to Philadelphia or to Boston, either for medical specialists. Your health insurance doesn't cover hotels, it doesn't cover meals, it doesn't cover flights, and providing scholarships to go to the types of medical conferences that we went to, so you're not alone as a family and can meet some of the researchers and other families.
And is Sofia helping you right alongside
this
program?
She is. She's been great, and our other kids too so far have been great, as is appropriate for their age. They've been very helpful. Sofia spoke at the event with us. The picture you showed was of her and Paige giving the diners.
Let's show it again. She's a beautiful child along with Paige.
The picture was of the 2 of them giving tips to the diners for how to eat without vision.
What did they say?
They said some really important things that are important when you're talking or around someone who doesn't have sight. I think one of the key ones is when you're speaking to someone without sight, you should always use their name. Or if you're in a group, you'd want to say Anne, and then keep talking, or Laura and keep talking, because if you can't see, you miss the visual cue.
Sure.
So in a group, it's very hard sometimes to socially navigate. So that was one of the clues. The other was food to face, not face to food, which is something we continually have to remind all of our kids of.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, when people start eating without sight, they tend to lean right over into their plate. So you want it, maybe getting closer, you feel like you can feel it better. I don't know, but there isn't an instinct to move closer to your plate.
Do you see your daughter as a born leader because of this sight issue? Is she taking the charge with this to teach other kids how to live this way?
That's a good question. I do see her as a born leader. She's a quiet leader. She's not quite as outspoken or boisterous as her mother sometimes is, but she's playing along really well, and she's definitely gotten more involved as she gets older. She was very excited to talk at the event. So,
Well, Laura Manfrey, thanks so much for mounting this awesome nonprofit, SofiaSeesHope.org, and thanks for coming on and telling us,
Thank you.
educating us about what this is about.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Made a trivial pursuits when one listen. Who's this girl? Spend all night kissing, and if was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked to find myself wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of my mind, just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see. Don't you know, you know, you know that